Oh, welcome to another episode of the Growth Compass. Shout out to our sponsor, Senders. If you want to email deliverability correctly, it's below our heads, the answer, the solution. But without them, it would not be possible to interview cool people doing cool things like Joe. Welcome.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, my man. How's everything on your side of the screen in Philly today? City of brotherly love,
That's
where they
right.
beat
No,
up where they beat up Yankee fans in the streets.
it's out of love though. It's tough love.
Tough love.
That's right. No, this is cool. So I've done some reading, done some research, but it's always cool. It's always awesome to hear, from the original source about stories of what you've built and where you've been and all these things. So I'm excited to get into it. For anyone that doesn't know yet, if you could give a brief introduction of yourself and what you're building.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Joe Fontana. I am a founding VP of sales for an organization by the name of Dextego, which is an AI-enabled sales coach with a model that's been trained on over 200 years of actual sales experience, including my own. Um, I mean, what's to say? I've built 21 sales orgs from the ground up. I'm 18 and 3. I have personally trained, mentored, coached, led over 2,500 SDRs and AEs in my career. I've got 156,000 hours of talk time. So when it comes to sales, there isn't much I haven't seen, heard, experienced, so on and so forth. So can't thank you enough, Blake, and your sponsors for having me here and pretending that I know what I'm talking about. This is great.
Yeah. Well, I think me personally, I also have an interest in not sales, like when people say sales, to like, oh, sales, whatever, but the purpose of sales and what it means to the ability to grow a company or pursue a dream or something like that. What sales becomes once somebody starts their own business and needs to understand sales is much more than I think what a lot of people think it is when they're just like, hello, can I sell you something you don't need? It's a lot more than that. So I appreciate what you do. Is this my question for you? You said you've built a lot of sales organizations from the ground up. Is this technically your first time being a founding member of a company?
Um, yes and no. Um, yes, founding member of an organization. Um, no, in the fact that before you were even born, I built a company from the ground up that built sales orgs for companies,
Nice.
trained sales teams. It was bootstrapped. I did it the old fashioned way with Rolodexes, yellow pages, and telephones. So I'm certainly dating myself. Um, as far as sales organizations that I've had to build out, yeah, it's probably one of the earliest stages that I've worked with.
Sweet. So then let's go back to that experience that you just spoke to, the first one where you were building other. I guess that was the first time that you had gone out on your own and started building
Yeah.
the org. So what made you decide at that point in your life? If you give a little context to where you were at before, but what made you decide? Because entrepreneurship is one of the hardest things that an individual can do. So I always love to find out more about what.
So at the time, I was a financial advisor. I was a stockbroker. This is the late 90s. A lot of people doing it. And others had started to come to me because they saw the way I trained my own team. And they'd be like, hey, will you train my guy? I got a guy starting Monday. How much would it cost to train him? That turned into 5 guys. How much would it cost to train my guy? And then 10, and then 15, and then 20. And 1 month, I woke up to 35, 40 brokers that I was training. And this is pre-internet. I was trading stocks like Google and Amazon. This is when Jeff Bezos was still working out of a garage. People were telling these people, long story short, um, I was making more training brokers than I was with my own financial practice, with none of the stress that came from my financial practice of chasing down stocks, making sure I own the right one, talking people into buying more, talking people out of selling it too soon. I was buying Pixar before Toy Story came out. So to have to convince somebody to not only buy it, but hold it before a cartoon was coming out
Yeah.
was a big ask.
Right.
Um, But training 35 brokers a month was not a big ask.
Okay.
So it went from moved out of my financial practice, started trading hundreds of brokers a month, had other people helping me, then went to the flip side of Wall Street to the sell side of the guys selling the mutual funds, the ETFs, all those exotic investment products. And then one day, actually, on a wager, I happened to close a titan of industry in an industry outside of what I was doing. And that got me into the tech space and started building out sales orgs for companies in the tech space.
Well, I think then also before we get started with getting into Dextego and your experience with that, then I think this is a unique opportunity to ask you, I guess, and you can take this question however you want, but what is like, just walk through the process of going from zero to, whatever level of functioning sales organization.
As I build them out, or for one,
Yeah, so let's
so
say let's say because there will be like someone in the audience that's sitting here and saying like I just started my business, or I have three people in my business and we have sales, we've done sales, but we need to build out more of a foundation so we can start putting people into it. Just what is the scope of, like, what does it look like to be at zero? What does it look like to be at 10?
so zero is we're at vision. Let's talk through this vision. Um, as you talk through vision, you're talking through budget because you need to know how much you're going to have to spend if you're going to have anything to spend. Um, Assuming that you have money to spend, steps one, two, and three are focused around marketing. Marketing is there to drive an awareness. Sales is there to drive that awareness to conversion. So you need somebody who's out there that's getting a better understanding of your ICP, of how to interact with them, of the messaging, of the content that they're interacting with best, so that you can start those conversations. But at some point, you're going to have those conversations. And that's what most leaders fear the most, especially the younger an organization is. And especially when they've been sitting there and this product is a labor of love that hasn't been touched by a market that doesn't care how you feel about it or the
Yeah.
time that you've put in. They will, you know, viscerate you and crucify you on day one. And not a lot of people are, open or used to hearing that. Um, so it really starts around what this vision looks like. What do we have to build with, beginning our build? At that point, it's, are we making the right steps? Are we doing the right things properly? Is our messaging working? Are we having the conversations? Are we converting? Once we are converting, what does the onboarding of these clients look like? What does ops look like? What does account management look like? Um, because right then and there, you're building out your retention machine, which is just as important as building out your acquisition engine. Typically, there you're sitting at anywhere from 90 days to your first 6 months, um, and there you're just fine tuning, ensuring that what you have in hand asset wise is capable of bringing in business, and what that bandwidth starts to look like before potential kinks in the armor present themselves. Because when kinks in the armor present themselves, it's already too late. Something is lacking, something is breaking down. So you want to get there beforehand. You want to be able to say, here's terminal velocity within 500 miles an hour of getting there. Because by the
Mhm.
time you get there, again, the damage has been done. You're not doing right by your clients as they come in. You're not doing right for prospects as they're showing awareness. So you want to stay on top of these things as frequently as possible so that when you do scale, you're scaling in the right places at the right time for the right reasons.
So then let's so you spoke about going from zero, steps one, two, and three, marketing, like setting the foundation. So you said that takes you from anywhere between 90 to your first 6 months where you experience conversion, you experience what it means to service clients and do account management and these things, what are useful benchmarks in the lifespan of a sales organization? Because like an easy one without more context would be, oh well, my first hire is a benchmark, or is it like a critical mass of like 5 hires? Is the process pretty much the same from 0 to 5, or is there a real change between 0, 1, 1 and 3, these types of things?
So I mean, I'm always a big proponent of different strokes for different folks. What works for one organization isn't necessarily going to work for another. Um, but you need to ensure that each role that you create, the processes around them, the steps they need to take to become successful, um, you have the data. Like you said, it's not just a one call close. Um, you need to sit there and the work needs to be put in. You will fail. You need to document those failures as much as you document any success. But success to me is substantiation. You've put the time in, they're doing the job, they're doing it right. Let's make sure before you make any move that the move is merited. Just because you have designs on being a $50 million a year revenue organization doesn't mean you'll ever get there, no matter how large your staff is. Some organizations, that's a tough pill to swallow
Mm-hmm.
because they're capitalists and everybody wants to make money. And I get that. But you can add 50 people to an organization. It's not going to change anything if they're in a limited market, do something extremely niche, and are only going to live in a certain place for a certain client. Um, that's a really dumb way of answering that question. I'm sorry, Blake.
No, 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 you're good. I think it's useful because it is a useful way to answer the question, because I think there isn't a lot of clarity, at least to my knowledge. There isn't a lot of clarity of when the right time to hire is. So I think something you're speaking to, and if you could just clarify on top of it, that'd be awesome. But something that you've spoken to so far is that part of the decision, or part of the thresholds of hiring and things like this, developing a sales system, it comes down to really you having a true understanding of what your business is, of who you're selling to, and a realistic vision of what the future looks like, and that changes obviously based on the product you have, the market you're in, things like that. So that is really helpful. But if you could just give, I guess just clarify what you mean, as far as like, do you mean that in some instances, some people are going to be completely fine with like one salesperson for life, or are we talking? What are the indicators of knowing what the right time to hire is?
It always comes from sales and marketing. You know, if they're doing their jobs right, that potential for unlimited revenue is always going to be there. So to me, any indication of whether or not a company should grow first comes from marketing and sales.
In
So
what
if they're
way? Like response?
producing, so if they're producing, that means there's room here to add another. Or because they're producing, am I adding someplace else?
Okay.
So sometimes the growth might be, you suck at what you do. I need to bring in somebody that can do it.
Right.
Because a seller, especially with all of the tools today and the work that can be done behind the scenes, if they're just closing and you have a team that's independently managing those accounts, um, you'll find more growth on that operational side of bringing in more people that can manage the fact that they can bring in more.
Okay.
If they're not bringing in more, then sometimes it's, do we need more sellers? Do we need more marketing? Do we need better tactics? Do we need to pay for some solutions that'll get us in the door with organizations?
Sure. So my last question before we get into your experience with Dextego is: do you have a particularly favorite experience that you've had of building a sales org from zero to wherever, and what made them successful or not?
So I'm 18-3 in building out sales orgs.
Okay.
The 18 that were successful, all the same milestones in the growth, in the awareness. For as a sales leader, what gives me the most pleasure and pride is watching a seller become self-aware of watching that Jedi put a lightsaber in their hands for the first time and they don't cut their foot off.
Okay.
Of seeing that, they've put in the work, they have that awareness, that journey to belief, because when that happens, regardless of the role, marketer, ops guy, especially in sales, once that person has a sense of belief, all bets are off. You now have a monster on your hands. So as I build sales teams out, my growth is directly related to how many monsters I build out and how quickly I build them.
How do you build a sense of belief in somebody?
It really starts with the pact that you have with that individual as you hire them, of that awareness and that agreement of, you're going to make an investment in you. I'm going to make an investment in you. I'm going to make an initial investment and I'm going to see what you do with this investment. Do you squander it and not give two squirts? Do you put in the effort and the energy? Do you go down the paths that I point you towards? Because if you do, I'm going to keep investing. If you don't, I'm going to stop. I tell teams all the time, I'm going to hand you 2 unlimited bushels of rope. You can build a ladder or a noose. I will help you build whatever you choose.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to come in half-assed, not make the investment, perfect. You might want to tighten a knot like that. If you're sitting here, Joe, I've done this. I'm putting in the efforts. Those books you suggested, the podcasts you told me to listen to, I'm seeing the results of your investment in yourself. I'll keep making that investment.
So then, how much of this comes down to, uh, like we're talking about, moral belief, psychology, like mindset, these types of things, and then like the technical tool, like having the right technical tools at someone's disposal.
So technical tools, tech stacks, what you're going to use, how you're going to use it, any dipstick can be trained on that. I am a perfect example. I am as dumb as a stump. You could train me on any technological tool. I could use it with proficiency and an expert level of understanding. That does not make a salesperson. It is the investment that they make in themselves, the resilience that they have, their coachability, their adaptability, their emotional intelligence, the fact that they're making that investment in themselves on a daily basis to improve that. That's what I'm looking for.
And
I
the
mean,
way,
if anything in today's world, the seller has so much of a resiliency on the technology that there's almost no human component left to that seller. And that's
Mhm.
a very, very sad sign.
So the way the again, so the way, like, you're speaking to what makes a seller is this belief in the way that you, the main way that you instill that into somebody is a sense of understanding that I'm making an investment in you, you're making an investment in you, and then that's cultivated over time.
Yeah. So as I do that, I'll hand them the same tools that were handed to me as I was taught, the same books, the same resources, and I will see by how you absorb these resources
Hmm.
how much of an investment I should make in you.
Hmm. Noted.
Because if you hand me virgin clay on October 1st, by December 31st, I have handed you back a seller that can sell,
Hmm.
that can operate independently, that is self sustaining, that is constantly learning, that is doing all of the right things the right way, and whose very presence motivates everybody else around them. And I can develop a room of them for you.
Yeah.
Or you have people that don't work there anymore, or people that are better at something else.
Hmm.
They're not a good seller. They are an exceptional marketer. They are an exceptional in ops. This person will be great in HR. This person's going to be good in customer success.
Yeah. Well, so now, taking all this foundation, because I obviously have so many questions about all this stuff. I think this is really important stuff we're talking about. Dextego how long have you been doing it, and what is your experience specifically with all of these things, all the concepts that we've been speaking to? How have you been applying them or not to this particular experience?
So Dextego lets me do everything that I've talked about at at scale. So I've led teams of 30, 40 sellers. It is an investment to give them all of the daily coaching and insights to get their deals closed. Dextego resonated with me because there's a brilliant CEO at the helm, Ioana Onasi, who appreciates the value of coaching, not only for sales, but for leadership. And unlike a lot of founders out there, asked the right questions, made the right sacrifices to build something that's having an impact on sales teams. One of the first things she did was take an approach that other organizations that provide the same tools don't do, which is train the model with actual sellers.
Hmm.
So you look at our competitors in the space who shall remain nameless. Some of them have made names for themselves on the fact that we didn't know how to sell. We went to chat, and chat taught us how to build this engine out that we now use to sell and teach others how to sell.
Hmm.
Whereas Dextego is built over 200 plus years of actual seller experience.
Hmm.
So it's agnostic to what you're selling. It's agnostic to who you're selling it to. It knows all about the sales practices. It knows all about the sales methodologies. It knows how to live in CRMs, knows how to live in calendars. And when you need it, before you ever have to jeopardize a relationship by getting on the phone and acting like a dimwit, you can go to Dextago and get all of the insights you need to have that conversation. Because just as we've applied AI to the model, we're applying AI to the prospect. So you can go into the tool with a LinkedIn profile and figure out what their disc profile is
Yeah.
and how to have a conversation with them from a psychological perspective. Am I dealing with an extrovert? If so, how do I relate to them? Am I dealing with an introvert? If so, how should I relate to them, considering that we are two different people?
So just what has your experience given? This is the product, and this is your experience with it, and why it speaks to you. What has been your experience going into the market and selling? And have you built out a team for them yet? And if you have, how have you?
So I haven't built out a team yet. I'm still deep in the throes of a founder-led motion.
Okay.
I've got 19,000 followers and connections in my network.
Sure.
My ICP have always been sellers and marketers.
Sure.
So it's just natural to have these conversations with them. Um, Again, I've sold through so many, organizations through my career. I'm agnostic. I didn't know how to sell into this when I first started doing it in April, but we've got, some wind beneath our wings now. We're starting to make an impact within organizations. Um, but like any sales motion, the first 90 to 120 days can be tough because there is no sense of urgency around what I sell until there's a sense of urgency around what I sell.
Yeah. So
And then
as far as that goes, though, like how do you get to that? How do you get to that point? Somebody like in
you talk to everybody, every opportunity you can. Sales is a rejection based business. So you have to grab, you got to man up. You got to be a big boy, big girl. You got to grab yourself by the short and curlies. Realize you are going to go into a series of conversations where the overwhelming majority of people are going to say no to you. And of that overwhelming majority, a good majority of them are not going to be polite or professional about it,
yeah.
but you've got to goldfish it. I mean, you've got to go from just getting screamed at to picking up the phone and doing it all over again.
Yeah.
Because for all of the tech at everybody's disposal, everybody wants to rely on the tech. So what makes organizations successful is the same thing that makes the sellers successful, going out and doing the work.
So based on you having this experience, how has the product changed at all? Has the product evolved over the
So the
conversation?
product has evolved from when I met Yuana almost 2 years ago, and we met the same way I meet a lot of people in my network. I like to have conversations with the people that I request to connect with. Um, we are constantly learning from our prospects and customers alike, as well as from our competitors, and making the different changes that need to be made so that I have a product that can compete in a realistic way in the marketplace. Um, a perfect example of that is as we have gone into the market, not only is there a need for sales coaching, but there is just as strong a need for leadership coaching,
Hmm.
for that SDR or that seller, that AE that has been knocking the cover off the ball, doing all the right things right, has the burden of leadership put upon them.
Hmm.
And just like no seller needs to fail in real time on the phone with a prospect anymore because there are tools such as Dextego that can help you, no leader needs to ruin the career of a seller because they don't know how to empathize, because they don't know how to have a structured conversation, because they don't know how to tell somebody bad news, because they don't know how to coach, because they don't realize being a sales leader is far different than being a leader of sales.
Yeah. So is this the
Sales leader is
direction?
hey, I'm 100% of gold, closing this guy, closing that guy.
Yeah.
Everybody loves me. I'm doing business. People are getting paid. President's Club, money, money, money. Now, you have to take what made you great and make others great.
Hmm.
But it's not just do what I do. Like when I first became a sales leader, that's the page I took. And that's what a lot of sales leaders did at the time.
Sure.
Give me your business. I'm going to close everybody. Learn from me. If you can't learn from me, go home. And it's far different now. The investments in individuals are substantial. Um, at the same time, there's never that onus on how to actually lead a team.
And this is the direction that you see the product going.
So we've actually built out a leadership coach. So the tool had three coaches. You
Right.
had Tago, who would do role play. Hey, I'm sitting down with Blake Newcomer tomorrow. This is what I'd like to sell Blake. It's going to be a disco call. Here's some information about Blake. Here's his LinkedIn profile. Let's work through a role play. We then have Finn, general information. Finn, I'm getting on a call with Blake tomorrow. Blake is an eye on the disc profile. Any suggestions on some questions I can ask him? Yeah, why don't you try this? Why don't you say this? Okay. Then we have Esther, motivation, inspiration. I just got told to go F myself by 7 people in 45 seconds. Esther, can you help me not jump out of a moving car right now?
Yeah.
And you're getting some motivation, you get some inspiration. We also have Arden. And Arden is there to help somebody that wants to take the path to leadership. How do I actually lead sellers? How do I take everything that I've learned and help others apply it in their own unique way, using their own unique personality to their unique challenges and issues that they face?
And that was developed recently.
So that's been developed recently. Shortly, we will have a coach focused on AR issues as well.
Right.
So, what we learned from the market is everybody wanted to do sales coaching, everybody wanted to stick to tech, nobody wanted to move past that.
Hmm.
So, we've taken a more holistic approach of, well, our tool is trained by all of these sellers, it's agnostic. So, why do we need to focus on just tech sellers?
Fair.
Let's look at other industries that they're afraid to touch. And let's look at the issues that need coaching that organizations refuse to touch.
Hmm.
So while there's companies that are out there that are not going to cover off the ball with sales coaching, we are in the fledgling stages of being a coaching marketplace.
Hmm.
I need a leadership coach. I need an HR coach. I need a technical coach. I have a specific issue here. Which of these coaches can help me tackle it?
Sorry. Yeah. So in the experience then of being within that you said the throes of a founder led motion, which is awesome, and then describing how the product has evolved. I have two final questions for you, and I feel like the reason I started asking this question is for people like you, which is at the moment how would you describe what the biggest hurdle is, and how is it also an opportunity?
The biggest hurdle, the biggest hurdle we have is we're new to the game, relatively new to the game. Don't
Okay.
have the funding that other organizations have. As a result, it's allowed us to be a bit more flexible where they can't. Hey, we have to be sales, we have to be tech. We've put all of our time and energy and efforts and money and investment, so on and so forth, behind this one very little thing where we don't have those crutches behind us.
Hmm.
And because of it, we could be a little bit more flexible. At the same time, it's a curse because we don't have the money necessarily to be as flexible as we'd like. But
Okay.
that's the catch 22 that any early stage startup faces.
Gotcha. And then my other question, just because a lot of what you're speaking to is like, you know, really firing me up, and I'm sure a lot of people also that will be watching this is when you're going through all of this, all the experience that you've had, the decision to now embark on this new journey with this company and continue to really impact people's lives. What inspires you to keep going?
I would do this for free. So I'm at the stage of my career. I've built 21 sales orgs out. Um, I love coaching. You know how to get into my calendar, Blake. If you ever wanted to chat to any type of sales coaching thing, I love doing it. Because those that coached me, the total strangers that helped me 30 years ago, changed my life. I've had wonderful experiences. I've met amazing people. I've traveled the globe. I've got over 2,000 sellers that I have coached over my career and the impact that that's had on their lives. I love it. I mean, I spend my Fridays with open office hours, and this is open to any of your guests as well. Even though I'm in a little bit of a break right now on LinkedIn, if you find me and you feel you need just a shoulder to cry on, somebody to vent to, assistance with your job search, questions around issues you're facing as a seller, my door is open. So I love talking to sellers for free. So Ioana came to me with, I'm building out this tool. And it became a labor of love because I know just from being busy as a sales leader, I've got 30 reps under my command to give them an hour a week each takes up every day of the week up until Friday morning
Hmm?
before I can do anything else. So when I saw this tool and saw the impact it could have for the sales leader like me, now having more time to be more strategic because now the tool is telling me where it's seeing the problem. The tool is sharing where they're facing a challenge. The tool is providing them with the insight and resources to help, again, what we spoke about earlier of making the investment in yourself. Because now I can look at the end of the week and say, okay, Blake has been in the tool twice. He spent 5 minutes in here. His deals suck. Here's every issue I have with Blake. Here's John. John spent 4 hours in this tool over the course of the week. The results speak for themselves. John, I'm sure, has a far cleaner pipeline, a tighter CRM, knows exactly what's happening with his deals. He's asking the right questions. He's bringing the right people in. He's making the investment in himself. Blake, and no pun on you, but Blake sits there and jerks it, expects others to do the work for him, is looking for the easy way out. That makes life a lot easier for me as a seller
Hmm.
or as a sales leader because
Hmm.
now I know who to make that investment in. For the seller, they get that constant reassurance that they don't have to worry about or wait for a sales leader to give them.
Hmm.
So now they can go out and they can kill it every day. It allowed me. So before I went from an advisor to VP of sales, I used this tool at an organization that I was running at the time. It was a demand gen agency. I handed it to my SDRs. And not only was it easier to train them and coach them and so on and so forth, but their ability to retain soft skills that used to take months now took weeks.
Hmm.
Billy's having an issue with how to properly communicate a unique value prop, but tie it into the buy in he needs to keep the deal moving. Now all he's getting are role plays focused on that weakness and how to have those conversations and get shitty scores and watch those scores improve. And now, 5 weeks later, something that would have taken me months upon months for Billy to master, because he'd have to have a conversation or sit in the right role play or talk to the right person. Now he could just do it hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. Now the next time he has the opportunity to have that conversation, it's not learning as he's going, it's applying what he's learned. And there's a pricelessness in that. Because having trained thousands of guys, that used to take months. There's guys that wouldn't get it for 6 months, and along the way, they'd have role plays, but it really wouldn't kick in. They'd have a couple of conversations where they're starting to appreciate that they have superpowers, but they keep burning a hole through the wall. To say nothing of applying it and failing. So not only is it giving them the coaching, not only is it helping the sales leader, but it's saving hundreds, if not millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Because you're not losing the rep because of the fact that they're a dipstick and never caught on. You're not losing the client because of the dipstick rep, so on and so forth. So when the opportunity came to come into the market with it, I was excited. Because it required social selling, it required a founder-led motion, and there was the excitement in the challenge of doing something that I've done thousands of times over, but now having to use some, like I say, old school tactics, new school tactics, old school skills.
Yeah. Well,
Like
Joe, it comes
LinkedIn's
through. The excitement comes through.
again, it's when it's a labor of love, it's not really work, my man. And they're a great team to work with.
Well, I appreciate your passion. I appreciate you being so transparent about it. If anybody else was inspired to connect or follow along with the journey, what's the best way to do that?
Hey, just shoot me a LinkedIn message. Blake sent me. Blake suggests, I saw the podcast. When can we chat? I always open up my calendar for anybody that's looking to build upon themselves, improve themselves. I'm on a little LinkedIn break right now.
Good.
I've been on it for a minute, a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
But mostly what I do on LinkedIn, and as you look through my content, Blake, you see our dad jokes.
I did
I'm
see
a
that.
big believer in coming as your authentic self. I posted a dad joke yesterday. It was the first post I had in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I was curious to see if a church joke would get a lot of attacks on LinkedIn, but I think the algo saved me.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, Joe, thank you so much. I appreciate how I am excited to stay connected and to see where Dextego goes.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough for having me. This has been an absolute thrill. Like I said, any of your listeners, clients, customers, prospects feel I can bring any value to their day or their business, you know where to find me. Don't threaten me with a good time. This has been an absolute thrill. Thank you, Blake.
Good. Absolutely. Stay in touch.
Take care.